Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 92. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and I guess we should probably start with an apology. I know it's been 2 weeks since the last episode of Inside Music aired, but I swear to you it was completely out of my control. Well, mostly out of my control. Let me explain. Our guest last week was supposed to be Aaron Gillespie, solo artist, drummer for Under Oath, and sometimes drummer for Paramore when they're on tour. Anyways, Aaron was scheduled to be on the show. We had a conversation ready to go, and the morning of the recording, he got sick. Well, I don't know if he got sick that day, but his sickness got to the point where he was unable to record, and it was already Wednesday afternoon when I found out, and I figured, you know what, let's just skip a week, because I could have maybe reached out to a friend or someone to do like a last minute fill-in episode, but that kind of felt wrong because we're getting so close to episode 100, and I want to make sure they're each something that I really, really care about and I really want to talk about or I really enjoy. So I decided we'll just wait a week, and sometime between now and the release of episode 100, which is going to happen on November 23rd, well, I'll just release 2 episodes in 1 week. So if you're sad that you missed Inside Music last week or sad that there wasn't an episode, don't worry, you'll get a chance to double down in the near future. Today, on episode 92, I have a great, albeit a little short, conversation with Jimmy Reeves, vocalist and principal songwriter for the band Sunndrug, whose debut album Exit Wounds arrives on Halloween, October 31st, through Mind Over Matter Records. Now, since this is a debut album, I'm going to guess that a lot of you out there have no idea who Sunndrug is, and that is completely okay. They mash elements of electronic, and I don't mean like dance music, more like synths and some of those unnatural sounds that you can only create in the digital age, with this hard rock that's inspired just a bit by blues, and it's just good. It's good. It's a textured, deeply thought out rock record that I cannot get enough of. I've been listening to Exit Wounds for a little bit now, and every single time I finish a listen, I gotta go back and start all over again. That is if I even make it from beginning to end without starting a song over. My favorite song is Group Therapy. However, since the album isn't out yet, I can't share that with you, so today we're gonna play a different song. We'll get there in a minute. Before that, I gotta tell you a few quick things. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music, just like all episodes of Inside Music, are brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading digital promotional distribution system. And what that means is that Holix works with record labels, management, publicists, and independent artists from all over the world to share new and unreleased music without fear of piracy. Should leaks occur, and unfortunately they definitely still do in 2016, Holix has tools in place that can not only help you figure out who is responsible for the leak, but can help remove files from the internet. For more information on Holix and access to a free 30-day trial, visit haulix.com. That's haulix.com. Secondly, I want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter. We are so close to hitting 300 followers on Twitter, which is less than half of the people that typically listen to an episode of Inside Music. So I'm really hoping you'll start following us and join the conversation. It's at Inside Music Pod. That's Inside Music Pod. Third, and probably most important, you need to get Sunndrug in your life. I know that some of you are straight edge or you just say no to drugs, but Sunndrug is one that you can take. Hell, you should overdose on it. This band is so good, and it's so rare that a band like them even gets to the point where the general public knows that they exist, and I'm so happy for them, and I just want this album to be great, and I want it to be great for Mind Over Matter Records because they're one of the best up-and-coming labels in the world, and I need your help to make that happen. Exit Wounds arrives in stores on October 31st. I'm sure it's up for pre-order now, and if it's not, it will be very soon, and you need to hear it. I'm going to play a little sample of a song called Shining, which is a little influenced by Led Zeppelin. We'll get into that in the conversation you're about to hear, and then I'm going to get into my chat with Jimmy. If you have any questions for me about the show, or if you have an artist that you think should be on the show in the coming weeks, please reach out. My email is james@haulix.com. That's james@haulix.com. I would love to hear from you, love to know what you're thinking of the show. And again, I'm so sorry that we missed last week. That's over, so I'm not going to get to the song. We're going to get to the conversation with Jimmy, and then we'll be right back on track with Inside Music. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the show.
Bottle you up
Let me begin right off the top by saying I really enjoy the record.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, Jesse sent it over to me a little while ago, and I've pretty much had it on repeat. I didn't actually know, I knew of the band before I realized that you were on Mind Over Matter Records, and we'll get there, but Austin used to be the guy that like gave me piercings and stuff before he even had the label, so this is weird.
Oh, no way.
It's a weird full circle moment for me.
Awesome.
Well, how are you doing today, man?
Doing good. Yeah, doing really good. How about you?
Where are you at in the country?
I am in, right now I'm in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
that home?
Virginia Beach is, but the cities are, I don't know if you're familiar with the area at all, but the cities are just right next to each other. So
Okay.
kind of the same area.
You know, I think
yeah.
I've never been to that part of the country except for like being on. I did a summer on Warped Tour, so like I did,
Okay.
the amphitheater outside the city somewhere. That's the
Yep.
closest I've been.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. Where are you?
I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've been up there.
yeah. I just moved here in February, so I'm still.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so we're starting to ease into my first fall here, which will eventually collapse into winter, and then I'll probably hate it.
And yeah. And you'll die of hypothermia.
Yeah, and then I'll never leave the apartment again. But luckily, I don't have to do things like this, so we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We'll survive.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Michigan, but I spent the last 5 years living in Boston until my job at Holics, where we're doing this interview for, called me out here to Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been a little bit of everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah, Minneapolis is not Boston. I can confirm that. I kind of miss the attitudes, but otherwise it's nice.
Yeah, there's something about. I lived in Brooklyn for a lot of years, and there's the East Coast mentality is. Yeah, I enjoy it.
I enjoy it too. My wife does not. She loves Midwest. She likes the Midwest
Okay.
nice, Midwest nice, Midwest sensibilities. That's her. I am much more like I like the Boston, New York thing because I feel like my anger is somewhat warranted because everyone else just lets it fly.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. You can get away with a lot more.
In the middle of America, I'm just a dick, but on the East Coast,
You're
I'm
just
normal.
a dick. Yeah. Who thinks he's better because he lived in Boston for a while?
Yeah. I thought road rage was just like part of driving. But no, yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you about this record, in part because it's also named after my favorite Steven Seagal movie. Don't tell me that that's not why
Nice.
you named it that.
It's not.
But let's start there. So Exit Wounds. I want to start at the album art and kind of go into the record itself because I love the artwork. I find it very striking. I like the font you chose for Exit Wounds. So tell me, like, what is with the art design of this record?
Well, the guy who did it is a guy named Ron Thompson. He works. He owns a place called Italic Studio out in Venice. But he is actually from this area. He's from Virginia Beach and gave me my first job out of college doing graphic design work. And we had just kept in touch through the years. And yeah, was stoked that he was interested in helping us out with the art on this album. But the idea, we were just looking for an image that was, kind of iconic, but also kind of supported like some of the dark themes in the record. Yeah, and so he just started sending ideas back and forth and record covers that we liked and he came up with what we went with, and yeah, we love it. He made a custom typeface for the lettering that spells out Exit Wounds on the cover, and yeah, we couldn't be happier. Really, really stoked about it.
Oh yeah, I love that font. It's so nice. I like it. Custom typeface for the win.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about the creation of this record because I listened to it the first time I listened to it all the way through. I was like, it's kind of crazy. It definitely feels like a record that you've spent a lot of time working on because it seems very complex, but at the same time, some of the lyrically, thematically, sometimes a little bit more straightforward. But musically, it seems like you really tested yourself to like see what you could come up with.
Yeah.
So when would you say these songs kind of started to take shape? Because I know this project has kind of been in the works for a while.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. finished the ideas for actually the first like two songs on the record, White Ladders and Denial, and that was sort of it was sort of it was like a roadmap from there of these two kind of sonic places that I wanted to bridge, and so I sent those kind of rough ideas to Chris, the drummer, Chris Raines, and we just started talking about it. That was about 2 years ago, and I have always wanted to be in a band again with Chris since we were in Spitfire together. And I knew he was back here and wasn't touring with Norma Jean anymore, so we had an opportunity to work together. And I was really interested in moving out of New York and moving back to Virginia. So yeah, I mean, it was basically like from ground up there. Took those two kind of disparate sonic ideas, which one's sort of electronic and more ethereal and moody, and then this kind of like just like ass kicking rock song, and tried to marry those two worlds. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense, and I think I get what you mean though, because you get to the end of those first two songs, and you're like, I don't know where this album's going. Like, is it more of song A? Is it going to be more of the second song? And it's kind of just a mixture of both throughout. You kind of go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
So, had you started working on any of this stuff before you started talking to Chris, or are all the songs on this record stuff that kind of came post talking to Chris, like let's do something?
Well, I had a few things started, and White Ladders I had pretty far along, but I just felt like it wasn't enough to kind of pitch doing a band together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
I was like, I like this song, but I can't, like, I'm not sure I can kind of pique Chris's interest with just this. And so I kept writing and just thinking about if we did do a band together, kind of what other, what it would actually sound like, because Chris is such a badass drummer, hard hitting, kind of Dave Grohl, John Bonham kind of a dude on the drum kit, which I absolutely love. And, yeah, so I mean, songs like I think had started Halo, and maybe Big Data had been just kind of the starting pieces. And yeah, so I started busing down from New York to rehearse with Chris and Clint, our guitar player, and just start talking through the ideas. And yeah, as it looks more like, hey, we're actually going to do this, more ideas started kind of flushing out, and yeah, but for a while we didn't have a practice space, and it was basically just Chris and I in my little home studio, flushing things out, and saying, just talking through and saying, what if we did this here? Yeah.
No, I like how you said that you didn't know that you could sell them on, like, here's a song, because I have that own thing where it's like you start creating something that you find interesting and you're like, yeah, but can I really make this like a whole full-blown thing, or is this like just a fun idea I'm playing with?
Yeah, that was definitely part of the process of, like, is this something, or just some cool thing I've enamored myself with.
Exactly. You create things all the time, and every now and then you do something you like, and you're like, is this my new thing, or did I just have one of those days where things worked out and I like what I came up with?
Yeah. Right. And tomorrow am I going to listen to this and be like, oh, it sucks?
Oh yeah, and will this hold my interest longer than today?
Yeah.
I understand that pain full well. Yeah, no, I think there'll be a lot of creative people that can get along with that. So do you think of this record as a whole as a concept album of sorts? Because I know a lot of the press releases and stuff have kind of talked about that it's a narrative about a man kind of coming apart at the seams. But did you always look at the material that way, or is that just kind of how it came out when you were done?
I think I did. I mean, I think I was aware of it. It was a really cathartic process, specifically lyrically, writing through a divorce I was going through at the time. So it was what one of the things music is great for. You know, it just was helping me through, sort out and process this painful thing that I was going through. And yeah, so it sort of, I got to a point where I wanted to write different songs, but I realized I wasn't going to be able to get around writing about this stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to dig into it too much if it makes you uncomfortable. But I did find that interesting. I'm kind of perplexed. I'm reaching this point myself where I'm about to be the big 30, and I've started to think about the idea of like you always kind of expect your life to go this way when you're 20. You're like, this is where I'm going to be in 10 years, and then you get close to the end of those 10 years, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't. That is not where things went.
Yeah, those things did not happen.
Yeah, those things didn't happen, or I did them and they didn't like fill that void inside me that I thought they would, or whatever the thing is. And you kind of have to be like, shit, now I need a new life plan.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what this record kind of helped you at least find or get to the bottom of? Do you feel like you kind of figured out your next step by making this record?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot too of just kind of looking in the mirror and kind of calling a spade and things that were, you know, I don't really want to get into any of the details of it, but yeah, I mean, it was more. It's more sort of, I don't know. I've heard a friend kind of refer to it as like a cautionary tale. I was like writing and looking at things and saying, you know, like, don't do it this way.
I like that. Just don't do this. Don't do this. I kind of looked at it different.
I tried this path.
I kind of looked at it as I don't know. The record kind of rang to me in a way of almost being like learning, realizing that maybe I fucked up too. Like maybe I had some role in this not going the way I thought it was going to go. Not all of it, but just like kind of accepting the fact that maybe you played some role in it, and not just the world is out to get you.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't want to go into all the songs because that would take a long time. But I do want to talk about my personal favorite track and then a few others that I kind of really dig. But the song that I keep coming back to, and I think the one that I'll be recommending people kind of dive into, I love Group Therapy.
Oh, cool.
Which is a sentence that sounds weird in any other context, but here it's good. I don't know why, but there's something about the way that song sounds musically. I feel like all the things you kind of touch on in the first two tracks. There's a little bit of a culmination there that works really well. And I don't know, for you, what is that song about, and where does it kind of fall in this narrative of a man coming apart and kind of piecing himself back together?
That song is really about kind of jumping through all the hoops that you're supposed to, checking all the boxes, and expecting life to hand you what you want, and kind of being in a place where you've maybe deluded yourself into thinking that if I do all these things, then I'll, you know, X, Y, and Z, I'll get what I want. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of
it's pretty simple, but it works.
Yeah.
And as you know full well, the boxes don't really mean a thing at the end of the day.
Well, you can be, you know, trying to be the best version of yourself and putting a lot of energy and effort into something, and really ignoring a big part, like the main thing. So, you know, I had a friend who wanted to be acting, and he had thrown himself like in the deep end of something that had nothing to do with acting. It was taking all of his time and energy, and you know, he kind of realized, like, just because this is all well intentioned and I'm doing all these things for the right reasons, I'm not kind of listening to. That's sort of that kind of line, listen to the voice in your head, you know, it kind of like listening to kind of the small voice, you know, that your kind of gut check that tells you what you should be doing, instead of what you think other people want you to be doing. And, you know, you get that perception mixed up where you're trying to meet other people's expectations of what they want you to be doing, which doesn't really bring you anything in life, even if you, you know what I mean?
No, no, absolutely. You're right. But it is one of those things, and it can be a self fulfilling prophecy in some way too, because you know what's wrong, but your mind will be like, yeah, that's messed up. But what if we're just like really nice for a few weeks? What if we just help a bunch
Yeah,
of other people? Maybe our problem will just slide away.
yeah. I mean, you have that little check in your spirit, and you say, oh, and we're experts at burying or justifying or kind of talking around, it's kind of self-justifying decisions. And yeah, so that song's really just about that, don't. Yeah.
I like it, and I also wanted to touch on "Shining," which I know anyone listening to this that hasn't heard the record yet, they can hear "Shining" because you guys premiered that on Substream. But I remember you put a quote. There was a quote in that article on Substream where you said that the working title for the song was "Bonham Song." Can you kind of talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit?
Well, Chris and I had we're both one of the bands we love is Led Zeppelin, and I specifically just love the big, slow, heavy blues songs that they do, and just their sort of take on them, and just wanted to kind of reimagine that in our world, and adding some of the things that are on the record and some of the electronic elements, and write a song like that, like a big dark blues song. Yeah.
I I feel like I fear sometimes that we're entering this weird age where people who were not alive in the '90s, I guess, for lack of a better description, won't know why the rest of us gave a damn about Led Zeppelin. Like it's one of those things where, like, third in like 4 years, 30 years ago will be 1990, and so that makes most Led Zeppelin records like 40, 45, 50 years old. And I always wonder, like, will people get why we care? Because sometimes, like in movies, you go back and you watch a so-called classic film, and you're like, it doesn't really translate anymore. But
Yeah.
so I worried that might become of Led Zeppelin, or at least like that element of Led Zeppelin. I mean, the hits are going to be the hits forever, but like that appreciation of like the bluesiness of it, because I don't know that most kids today even know what the blues are sometimes, or like that they're an element of that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to me that you're like, I want to pull that out because I like that, because that's what I like about Led Zeppelin. The rock that's fine, but it's how they use the blues, and most people don't see that element seems to be lost in a lot of rock music today.
Yeah.
Now, can we expect a stripped down blues album in the future? I'm just kidding.
Definitely not.
It seems like you're trying to get more complicated with your creations than simpler.
Possibly.
So what can we expect from Sunndrug in the future? So I know that you start off and you're like, maybe Chris and I can do a band and we'll create an album, and now the album's going to come out on Halloween this year, and then people will be like, so where does Sunndrug go from now? So like, you guys full in back on, and we're going to hit the road and get back into being musicians full time?
We're just going to do as much as we can. We're not going to be on the road full time, but we'll be doing weekends and short runs of shows through the year, just to support the release, and hopefully after later in the year start writing for the next one.
When did you always know that you were going to get back to this point? Did you, when you left the band back in the mid-aughts, did you think, oh, one of these days I'm going to get back out, I'm going to do this again? Or
how do you mean?
Like, was it when you walked away from Spitfire? Were you like, were you conscious of the fact that, like, I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to come back with a new band, or were you just kind of burnt out, or what was your feeling leaving Spitfire, and then what was kind of the spark that was like, I gotta make a new record, I gotta do this again?
Yeah, I think from the time I left Spitfire to the writing of this record, it was probably a good 10 years, and I just grew a lot as a writer, arranger, lyricist, all of it. Before that time, like early days Spitfire and growing into playing more, I just hadn't tried writing yet. So yeah, leaving, it was a real conscious, like I'd like to explore kind of what I would do. Because Matt Beck was really the main writer for Spitfire, which I mean, I love what Matt did then and what he does now still. So, yeah.
Well, so it's just sometimes I feel like, especially in any sector of the entertainment industry, it's like you go as hard as you can for as long as you can, and then sometimes you're like, I just need to like get some of those real world experiences for a while. You kind of have to reinform yourself about life, and so you can create more things about life.
Yeah.
And just step
Yeah, I
away from
can't
it.
say. I mean, Chris could speak better to that because he's spent a lot more time on the road than I have. I mean, so I feel like I've just been I've had plenty of life, so I could go on the road and do the reverse. But yeah, I mean, more other than like 2 or 3 week tours and stuff, I haven't spent like 6 months on the road or anything like that. So I don't know. Yeah.
In a perfect world for you, like what comes out of this Sunndrug record? Like for you, is it just the creative expression of it all? Like you made the record and now it's out there and hopefully people enjoy it, or is there like some goal that you have for the album? It does this for you, or the band gets to do this, or so on.
Yeah, I think it would be that we would, continue to get on better shows and play and open for some bigger bands and get to do some touring and just kind of let it be what it is. I don't, we're not like all hopping in the van for the next 300 days. But at the same time, we all want it to do as well as it can. And for me, I just want to get to do another one. I mean, now that we have a full lineup and adding a guy like Matt Beck to what we're doing, so we have like the original Spitfire lineup, which is pretty funny. But he's just a force. So, I mean, I'm just excited to looking ahead, in the next year or so to start writing some new songs and kind of evolving this band.
Do you think the sound will be similar to what we hear on this record, or do you have
Yeah,
some new ideas?
I think it'll be. I don't think there'll be any huge departure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it'll. I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to start writing with these guys. But
I feel like there's still a lot of areas left to explore because you do have these two very different genre elements that you kind of bring together on this album that it leaves a lot of room to explore still. You can do a lot of things in the sound that you've established.
yeah.
Well, that's good to hear, man. The one thing I didn't ask you, and I said I was going to right at the top of this, was so when in all of this does mind over matter come into this? Like, how do you know Austin? How did you guys get to know each other? What's the story there?
Chris could answer that better. Again, when we finished and got the masters finished, we just kind of started sending it around to anybody and everyone, that we had contacts with. And somewhere along the line with releasing our first single, Denial, I think Austin heard that and contacted us and just said, hey, I'm interested. If you let me know if you guys are. And eventually, through a few conversations with him, we just really liked. He just seems like a really good dude, and kind of has that same. We're all music fans, so we love little things in packaging and limited edition things that are part of the packaging, and just kind of geek out over that stuff. And he seemed like the same kind of guy, where it was important. The physical package was as important as the music that's on it.
Yeah, Austin's the kind of guy that'll be like, I'm going to do an exclusive die-cut vinyl packaging for this, and I'm not going to order a die-cut. I'm actually just going to make them all myself and stay up all night for the next 3 days. Like, that's Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I freaking love that, man. Going through art school and just, so we just felt kind of like he was like our kind of dude,
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Feels similarly. And I mean, that's the kind of guy you want in a corner, someone that's as passionate as you are about the thing you do.
Yeah. And he was really, we were upfront with him about our touring schedule and everything. And I think, yeah, he was on board with all that. So
Well, man, I think you
Good.
guys, I think it worked out. I think it's gonna work out well for you. He's like, I've known him before he even had Mind Over Matter, but ever since I've known him with the label, he's that's been like his lifeblood. Even when he was working at Hot Topic as a full-time manager, like all night long, he'd be doing Mind Over Matter, and then would leisurely stroll into Hot Topic after no sleep,
Yeah.
and be like, I'm gonna leave these chains one day, and he did, and now he does the label a little bit more full time, and I think it's working out well. So I made me really happy to see you guys with him, because when I heard the record, this is the kind of album, especially with your touring schedule, where it's like, in order for it to get out there to the people that will like it and need to hear it, you need somebody that's just like crazy passionate for that kind of music, and I feel like you found him.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's cool with what you guys want to do. It wasn't like, oh well, I'll do it, but you guys need to tour all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that sounds great, and I don't want to keep you for too long. Is there anything that we haven't covered out? I know that there's a lot of ways people will interpret this release, but for you, is there one thing that you hope they kind of take away from the album?
I'd rather let people project what they want.
I
or
like that.
what naturally, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like just project what they kind of take from the record without kind of prescribing or getting too descriptive about it, because I feel like it sometimes robs you of your own opportunity to just experience it for what it is.
No.
And do you know what I mean? How sometimes you'll hear like a singer or a songwriter just like talk about a song, and it just like unravels the whole thing for you.
Oh yeah, totally. I feel the same way. I feel the same way about movies or anything, where they're like, I wrote this thing that's about this, and the entire time you're like, I guess it's about this, and you don't really interpret it yourself. You more try to like.
Yeah, now it's meaningless to me.
Yeah, you're more like trying to put it into the mold that they told you of what it was. You're like, oh yeah, I guess this is that.
Yeah, I'm sort of the mind that when you finish a piece of art or music, it's not yours anymore. And it's the hardest part is to kind of put it down and accept that.
Accept that it's good enough to put down, for starters, because that's always a hard thing.
Or
too.
just to accept that it's not kind of just yours anymore. If you share it with other people, or if you put it out into the world, it's not really yours.
Yeah, the expression itself is yours, but the product of what that expression becomes, that's something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think it's cool.
I know, that's why we enjoy art, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for taking time to talk to me, man. I love this record, and I hope I almost said that I love that it comes out on Halloween, because that's just the nerd in me.
Yeah, right.
But people can still pick up copies at Mind Over Matter website. I'm sure you have pre-orders and all that jazz going.
Yep. I think it started. It might start in like a week or two or something.
Are you guys releasing any other songs from the album before it comes out?
I think we may do a release of Halo, but I'm not sure when.
You know, I thought it was Halo. When Jesse sent me the record, he was like, tracks 2, 5, and 8, and 5 is Shining, and 2 is Denial. So I figured 8 must be the third promotional single.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay, so Halo. People can be on that look out for that, and you guys will be around. I'm sure you'll keep doing things.
Yep.
And are you just Sunndrug on Twitter if people want to follow your stuff?
Yep, at Sunndrug with 2 N's, Sunndrug.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I thank you so much for talking to me.
Thanks, James. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.